It's obvious that you listen to this show to hear about and support other people's dreams. But what about yours? What is your dream project? I'm here to help you break through whatever is in the way of your dreams and get you to the finish line. Go to dreamingbigcoaching.com today and take the first step. Literally, it's a button you can click to sign up for a free consultation with me. Let's find out if I can help you reach your goal. Click on Take the First Step. It's that simple to start the rest of your life. Get coached by Rob Southgate at dreamingbigcoaching.com. Look, we're all nerds here. Todd Stashwick's Nerd Circus is a great place to pick up nerdy paraphernalia and groovy wares. How about some sweet lava lamp dice? Or maybe a funky 70s Rec Room Nerd Circus dice box? Does that do anything for you? Need a drink? What about the book Mystic Libations? Critical cocktails for the thirsty adventurer. Look, Todd Stashwick's Nerd Circus is the place for nerdy threads, cool tabletop gifts, and more. Go to thenerdcircus.com and check out the cool stuff. Oh yeah, and let them know the TTRPG Insider sent you. And again, welcome to the TTRPG Insider. I am Rob Southgate. The TTRPG Insider is a podcast about tabletop role-playing games. Most specifically, it's about the amazing people that create these games. Every episode, I'm going to interview somebody who's involved in the making of TTRPGs, the games that we all love to play. But I want to hear their stories about their likes, their dislikes, their history with TTRPG, maybe what books they like. I don't know. Just anything but just a flat-out description of the game. We've got other shows for that. You can follow TTRPG Insider on Facebook or on Twitter by searching for TTRPG Insider. I plan to add other social media, but for now, those are the best places to catch us. If you want to email me, you can send me an email directly to rob@ttrpginsider.com. The month of March, we are featuring The Black Ballad by the Storytellers Forge. They have a backer kit campaign that launched on March 7th and is going to run for 30 days. Please support this crowdfunding effort, both financially and by sharing it across your social media. You never know who's going to see this and fall in love with this game. Go to BackerKit and search for The Black Ballad, or simply click on the link that I have in the show notes. Today's guest is Joseph Carothers. He hosts Casters and Castles, a tabletop stream that features eSports broadcasters playing RPGs. It's really awesome. He's also part of the Black Ballad team. What a surprise, right? He's running a stream featuring the first few chapters of the Black Ballad, so players can get a glimpse into how it actually plays. Joseph has a lot of great insights and stories that I know you're going to love. Let's get to it. Joseph, thank you so much for being on. This is really exciting. What a week we're having, getting all these people in from Black Ballad. And you are involved in the Black Ballad as well. Why don't we start by, before I find out about you, what do you do with Black Ballad?
Sure. So I was actually recruited by Rick to run a stream just after the Kickstarter launches, showcasing the first chapter or so, the first couple of scenes of the Black Ballad.
Very cool. So we're going to touch a lot more on that. But before we do, why don't we get into you? Like, what's your background? How did you end up doing this? What are you kind of doing in RPG? What's your thing? Let's hear it.
So I'm Joseph. I go by Tormented by Gnomes, basically all over the internet. And I run Casters and Castles, which is a community stream tabletop thingy thing that features eSports broadcasters at the role-playing table. I came to it from when I was working in eSports broadcasting, surrounded by directors and producers and voice talent. And some of the commentators wanted to do some D&D content. They knew that I was obsessed and I was loud about being obsessed, so they looped me in. And now I run a bunch of different shows featuring people from all sorts of different esports.
So you do this like actual play. Do you, when you mic them, I know this is kind of technical, but are you miking individual channels when you edit? Do you pull them in all in individually, or do you do it kind of like as a live thing? Everybody's mixed together and then you edit it down.
Right now, everyone's mixed together and I edit it down only because I'm a one-man shop.
Okay. All right.
But in a perfect world, we do everything individual and get them all nice and polished.
Yeah. Not a perfect world. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I had to edit 36 shows a month myself at one point. I know nobody believes it except my wife who lived through it. So not a perfect world, but we get through it and we figure things out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So esports, so you're running like actual play. You're running the game essentially, but you've got these esports players doing this.
Commentators, actually.
Commentators, okay. How are they at playing D&D?
They're kind of a natural fit. We all know that the actual play space is super saturated, which I think is in some ways a good thing. It's good for the hobby. I'm glad so many people have this creative outlet. But you kind of have to do something if you want to stand out in the crowd. And what I decided to do is take people who are already used to being on camera, used to telling stories, even if it's about whatever's going on during a game, bouncing off of each other, sharing the spotlight. It makes them natural fits.
Yeah. Yeah. And you find them to be fun players because of all
that? Absolutely. They're hilarious.
Yeah. So what kind of games are you running with them?
Mm-hmm.
Is it all D&D?
It is all D&D, but we have branched out. I've run some Cyberpunk Red. I did that last year, actually, for my current employer, not for Casters and Castles. That was a lot of fun. I did Absolute Power recently, which is the superhero. It's the same system as it's from Discami Publishing Company. It's a TriStat system. That was it. And then recently I did Legends of Avalon, which is a playing card based Welsh mythology system. So we dabble here and there, but I have been a D&D nerd for most of my life. So I tend to gravitate around that.
Yeah, sure. So when you're doing actual play, you're DMing, I'm assuming, right? You're not just
Correct.
running the audio side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that for a second. When you're DMing an actual play in this context, are you doing production live? Are you running music and all that stuff to create ambiance, or is that something you add in post, or is that something you just skip?
I do it live. I run the whole thing live, basically live to tape and live.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So when you edit a showdown, how big of a file are you working with? I mean, how many hours, or is it like we do a one shot, it's 1 hour, and what happens in that hour happens?
I do 3 hours. I try to keep everything to 3 hours, and I split it in half at the break. So I do 90-minute episodes. And so they start out with a raw file of 90 minutes. And with a little bit of trimming here and there, it usually ends up at somewhere between 60 and 70.
Wow. I've done some work with actual play before, and I've seen everything from we recorded for 14 hours and we got an hour to we recorded. In fact, I was part of one. We did a live actual play 9 years ago. It's the first one I've ever encountered. I haven't found one that was earlier than us. It was a part of a podcast marathon, and it was a show that we were involved in, and they were going to run a Call of Cthulhu game. Masks of Nyarlathotep.
Yeah.
I stumble over that word every time. That's why it's so evil, right?
Exactly.
And it was a one shot, and I said, "You got a half hour." They're like, "We can't do it in a half hour." I'm like, "Yeah, sure you can." You got Chris and I, my friend, and we were coming up on the half hour mark, and I made sure that I shot a flare right into Cthulhu's face, and that ended things really fast.
That's the nice thing about Lovecraftian horror. There's always a blow it all up button right around the corner.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And we were about to die anyway. Things are all over us, and that I'm like, okay, I'm looking at the clock. Production boy goes into high gear. I'm shooting a flare. So what kind of DM are you? Are you nice to your players?
I try to ride that fine line because I do a couple of different styles. During most of my weekly shows, I have these cast members. They have busy schedules. They've given me their time. They're part of these ongoing stories. So I don't play the classic OSR Gygaxian death grinder style. I go way more narrative. But the trick of that, of course, is always keeping them just on the razor's edge of panic and anxiety without going just over it.
Right. Yeah, because you're going to lose players in the real world then, right?
Exactly. And it's different when it's content than what's around the table, you know?
Yeah, right. So when you're dealing with esports people, commentators, you said they adapt well. This is such a weird question, but it's kind of eating at me. Because they do esports
Mhm.
Are they like aggressive players? Are they looking to like hack and slash, or are they more narrative minded?
They're narrative minded, but they definitely look to optimize. They're the kind of people who don't always just want to kill, 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 fight, 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 but they are going to take every single thing that I put in front of them and just come up with some out of the box, fourth dimensional thinking I didn't come up with, because they're used to looking at team strategy and going over footage and just seeing all the different nuances of the way abilities and characters and play styles interact, and then finding the optimal path from that.
I wonder also if there's an element, because I was a big gamer, like video games for a long time. I mean, I still love it, but I just don't have time.
Yeah.
But I was a big gamer, and I found when I was playing tabletop that I found it to be so freeing. Like even the games that they say aren't on the rails are still on the rails to a degree. And I found that I was breaking free of that. And I wonder if the esports people, if that's one of the reasons they get so creative, is like, I can climb up that tree that in the game I never could. I can just look at.
Absolutely. And these are the commentators, right? So they're the people who they combine that analytical mind, but also they were usually theater kids or something along that line. They want to be talking. And so you take that storytelling and that reveling and breaking free from everything, like you said, and you get some wild stuff.
Wow. Very cool. So what's the name of the show again?
It's called Casters, as in esports casters, broadcasters. It's Casters and Castles.
Yeah, I am definitely going to put that in the show notes so people can check it out, subscribe to it, interact, because that's the whole game in podcasting. Interact with Joseph, and then the other thing is share it, because anybody listening to this, you're obviously interested in tabletop. You're obviously interested in gaming. I mean, come on, it's a natural fit. This sounds incredible to me. In fact, when we finish our interview, I'm going to put it on my phone and go right into episode 1. I always go to the beginning. So that's how it works. So with Black Ballad, you said you're going to be running the first few modules of this for Black Ballad?
The first chapter. They've sent it over to me. I've taken a look at it. Rick and the whole team are very, very narrative minded. It's got this music underpinning to it. So they really know the ebb and flow of scenes and action and such. So they're helping a lot with cutting that first glimpse, that first step into that world into a single preview one shot.
Wow. And you're going to run this on, did you say on Twitch?
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be live on Twitch. People can actually comment and play along. Not play along, but like be involved writing in that. You're going to have your players. Now, who are your players going to be? Do you know yet?
I am talking to a group right now. It's 3 of my mainstays who I have on my Wednesday night show, IOF Academy. And then one person who runs a different channel that is it's a D&D deathmatch. It's heavy metal themed. And as soon as I heard the whole underpinnings of the Black Ballad, it was a perfect fit.
Oh, that sounds great. That sounds awesome. So Black Ballad, let's talk about that for a second. I know this whole month is about that. I do want to feature this. There is a Kickstarter going, and it's important that this hits because you've had history with them. You know what the history of this company is. They have a wonderful vision that is very creator focused. Are you looking to like stay with it? Is this the kind of thing that you're going like, yeah, I see this company doing some great things?
I believe in the people and their values. So like everything about the way that this has come together, I didn't have a whole lot of previous history, but I've been watching from the outside, and just the way that I've been treated and the way that all the creators have been treated from the beginning. This is how it ought to be done. And it's super, super refreshing, and I do want to stay involved.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like that's one of the reasons I started this and started working with Black Ballad, because I find it to be such an incredible concept, what they're doing. And it's not just Black Ballad. It goes on way beyond that. It's Storytellers Forge is what it is. And it's just such a great group. Everyone I've talked to has been just wonderful. Black Ballad is going to be 10 chapters. Now, you're just doing the first chapter. Are you going to try to convince Rick to let you run through 10 chapters?
We'll see. We'll see. I don't know if it's going to need too much convincing on that part. It all depends on the timeline because it just looks cool. And as soon as I get my hands on it, I'm going to run it. You know what I mean?
I get this feeling that by like chapter 9, you're going to be just insane. Like it's going to end, but God, keep going. You know, I just everything I've read here, I just get that feeling. And if you've ever read Rick's books, I feel that way with Rick's books too, where you're like, by the end, you're just like, oh, I'm out of breath. Oh, more. Oh, I gotta wait. So yeah, very exciting. I think that's all I really need here. I mean, unless there's something more you want to talk about with trying to wrangle casters and having them do some actual play. Any other insights you wanted to share?
Just that working with interesting people who have incredibly busy schedules and busy lives, as much of a headache as it is always worth it because they always bring something unique from their own experiences to the table.
Very cool. Well, Joseph, thank you. Thank you so much for being on. Where can people reach you?
I've made it easy. We are Casters and Castles. We got a website that links to everything related to us. And if you search that anywhere, you'll find us.
And let's make it even easier for the people listening. It's going to be in the show notes. So if you're not an auditory learner, it's there. Click on it. You go right there. You can ask Joseph questions. I'm sure there are people listening that probably have actual play questions or just want to talk about like, what's it like with my favorite caster? Be there when this goes live on Twitch. We will share that across our social media, and you can see Joseph in his element. So, Joseph, thank you again for coming on. This was really great.
Thank you. I really appreciate your time. It was fantastic getting a chance to chat.
Thank you again, Joseph, for coming on and sharing such awesome insights. So many great tips in this episode. If you or anyone you know has a crowdfunding effort or is involved in the making of a tabletop game, send them my way. I love to share TTRPG projects with my listeners and to help people reach their goals. You can connect with me through the TTRPG Insider Facebook page, through Twitter, or via email directly to rob@ttrpginsider.com. You can find a link to this backer kit for the Black Ballad and any other links that we discussed in the show notes. TTRPG Insider is a production of Southgate Media Group. Hosted, edited, and produced by me, Rob Southgate. Thanks again for listening to the TTRPG Insider.